Hi, I'm Melissa, and this is the Book Break. And today I'm really excited to bring in two ladies who have a brand new social thriller for young adults. And I've got to tell you, I love this book. The book is called The Rumor Game. And let's watch a really quick trailer, and then we're going to jump right in and talk to these amazing authors.
You hit the beat, got the world on the string. To live forever, you'll do anything. Pat your ex, grab the diamond ring. I like the way that you're looking at me. I like the way it flows in between. Getting lost, get lost in me. Take a ride and we start to believe. Da-da, da-da.
Okay, so Dhonielle and Sonia. So Sonia, I'm afraid I'm saying it wrong.
Yeah, it's Sona rhymes with Mona.
Oh, perfect. There we go. So how about you ladies give us a synopsis of your book?
So the rumor game follows the path of a rumor from a spark to a blaze through a DC private school. It's a private school where the kids of politicians go, and it's sort of following the path of three girls, one who the rumor's about, one who started the rumor, and one whose boyfriend the rumor is about. And it's sort of about how social media impacts every aspect of the lives of teenagers right now. And like it builds and shapes who you are, whether you want it to or not. And it's to the point where whatever the truth is, does that even matter? It's more about what people are saying about you and how that impacts your life.
Yeah, and I think something that I found really interesting with this is it really dials down to not just what the person is feeling that rumors are being spread about and the person that's being bullied, but what the motivation is for the people that are doing it. And it's not always what you might think, but it hurts no matter what. Dhonielle, tell us a little bit about your experience with writing this book.
Yes. So I'm a former teacher and librarian, and I was witnessing rumors sort of devastate my students. And I went to school before the internet was a thing in school. So like, not to date myself, but I could go home and leave the school drama at school, because unless you were bold enough to call someone's landline, right, and deal with their parents picking up, like the school drama was at school. But now everything follows you home. You open your phone, there are notifications, there are DMs, there are things, there are comments, there are likes. There's like just all of this onslaught of social media usage that can add to the layer of bullying. And when kids who are, let's be honest, teens do bonehead things because their frontal lobes are not developed. They're still emerging people and coming into themselves. They make lots of mistakes, and those mistakes now live forever in a social media space. And we wanted to showcase a book that had three different characters, but also this fourth character that is social media, because it all influences all of these different characters, and people snowball and love a good controversy, right? I remember we can look at headlines. Kids now don't have social media literacy to know what is misinformation, what is fake news. I hate that term, but like what is false, and they perpetuate it and they spread it because it's good gossip, right? Yeah. So we really wanted to dig into that.
Yeah. And Sona, you also have a kid that's getting up to that age. As a mother, how does that affect how you think about this too? And how you're like, how am I going to help my child be prepared for this stuff?
It's really stressful because I have a daughter who's she's 12 now officially. And she doesn't have a phone yet. She doesn't have any social media accounts officially herself yet. But she knows the culture is so pervasive. Like it lives all around her. It's like its own breathing entity, as it is in the book. So she is already very aware of how it works. And I have an 8-year-old too, and he wants to be a YouTube star, which is its own like frightening thing. But when he's like talking about like he'll take a casual video and he'll be like, don't forget to like and comment, and that's super stressful as a parent because that culture has already invaded their brains at such a level. That's just the world they live in. And as Dhonielle mentioned, we didn't live in that world growing up, and so to see it come at them from every direction like that. It's relentless, and it's really frightening. And I do want to figure out how to teach her some sort of social media literacy before we let her loose on the world, so to speak.
Yeah. I'm with you, because when I was a kid and in high school, social media wasn't a thing. I mean, I remember being a senior in high school and getting my first pager, and my mom freaked out and thought, "Oh, you've got a pager now. So are you a drug dealer?" And I mean, all we were doing was sending, like, where you could turn it upside down and it would say hello on it. Yep. With the numbers. Like, that was our coolness, but it's true. It's such a different world, and bullying looks so different now than it did in past generations. We'll say it that way, instead of when we were kids, But so how did the two of you come together and collaborate in this book? Because, I mean, not only is it a really important topic, I mean, it's a page turner. I finished it in one day.
I'm so glad to hear that. I mean, we did it already with Tiny Pretty Things, which is a Netflix original series. So we thought, why not do it again? But this time, in that series, it was the ballet world. I used to work at a ballet school. And this time, it's this DC school full of all of the kids of politicians and diplomats. And so we just really took what worked in Tiny Pretty Things, which was the 3 rotating points of view, and some of them are unreliable, and some of them do dastardly things, and we remixed it and tried to take it to a new place with this multimedia and have a different kind of conversation. I think what we try to do in our work is crack open these big topics for teenagers so that they can deep dive them and come up with their own answers, because we don't try to provide answers, we provide questions that can get conversations started. And we're hoping this book is a conversation starter between other teens and their parents, teens and their teachers, so that we can all start to understand a little bit better about what this next generation is facing when it comes to social media.
Yeah. And, I really like that you put it in the DC area, in this really exclusive private school. One thing I kept thinking about is, depending on where people live and, where they are in their own social standing, some of these things may not look exactly the same. I mean, maybe the bullying isn't about who did what with whom, but rather, do they have the cutest clothes, or can they afford this or that? When you're going to a private school that's $80,000 a year, that may not be the same thing, but it shows that no matter what your economic class is, you still have issues. And I think sometimes people, especially teenagers, forget those things.
So, yeah, and we definitely want to address how race, class, gender, sexuality, ability, disability, all of those things, whether you can be in the same world as somebody else, but those lived experiences impact people in different ways, even in the same setting.
Yeah, and I really, really like that. And thank you so much for bringing that up, Sona, because I think that's an important topic that, depending on where you are, what culture you're in, you may not be aware. I mean, for example, the boy who was a part of the big rumor, I mean, he was a Nigerian diplomat, and he ended up having to go back to Nigeria because it did this horrible thing. And same thing with the gal. I mean, talk about that a little bit, because you both bring diversity to the platform and teaching us about different cultures too.
Well, I grew up in the DC area, so a lot of this comes out of my experience with the kids that I went to school with. And so I did go to school with diplomats' kids, right? And the kids of diplomats have a certain level of pressure on them, so that if they make mistakes, their parents oftentimes feel the brunt of those. And so Cora's boyfriend, who is the son of Nigerian diplomats, the rumor starts swirling around him, and he comes from a conservative Nigerian family. And so it has repercussions, and he is a Black boy. And so we're trying to show also the way that these rumors affect kids of color is very different. The way that the press, there's also articles, reports on certain types of kids, there's bias. And we really wanted those articles in there and these kinds of things in there so that even teachers and parents can talk about, look how this thing is reported. Look how they talk about this character, which is very different than the other characters that are also embroiled in the controversy. No spoilers, but we wanted them to be able to kids to be able to start seeing the bias and seeing that not everyone in your class and in your school and in your community is treated the same when a controversy happens. That sometimes when that hammer comes down and the thing happens, they get deeper consequences than other people, even if they're accused of the same thing. So that's what we were trying to really dig at as well, that nuance.
Yeah, and I think that's such an important topic. Sona, how did that topic affect you when you were working on your part of the collaboration?
Well, so the character that's closest to my experience is Georgie, who comes from a South Asian community. And I especially wanted to explore how much conversation about mental health is repressed within that community. And it's across the board in a lot of POC cultures. But like specifically in South Asian culture, it's very much something that is taboo to discuss. So I wanted to crack that open a little bit and really show the consequences of not having those conversations, especially when it comes to mental health, when it comes to the weight loss issues and stuff like that, because that is something that's so prevalent within that community.
Yeah, I really appreciated that you both brought in so many important topics into this book, and you did it so seamlessly and in a way that young adults or teenagers are going to kind of have their eyes opened a little bit of these topics that they don't realize people aren't talking about, or that they're in and they're afraid to talk about. So I love this book, The Rumor Game. Where can our viewers go to learn more about both of you and your book?
Sure, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Brown Bookworm. That's where I lurk.
Awesome.
And you can find me on Twitter at Sona C. So it's Sona_C. And you can find the book everywhere. It's at your favorite indie. It's at Barnes & Noble. It's at retailers across the country, wherever you buy books.
Fabulous. Well, thank you both so much for being here with us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for this.
And thank you to our viewers. We'll see you next time.